still got joy in chaos. Come on, let's sing.
I've still got joy in chaos. I've got peace that makes no sense, so I won't be going under. I'm not held by my own strength, 'cause I built my life on Jesus, and He's never let me down. He's faithful in every season. So why would He fail now? He won't. He won't.
He won't fail.
He won't fail. He won't fail.
He won't.
He won't. No, He won't. He won't fail. He won't Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through.
So rain came. Oh,
Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through.
so rain came.
Rain came, wind blew, my house was built on you. I'm safe with you. I'm gonna make it through.
I'm gonna make it.
I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause I'm standing strong on you.
I'm gonna make it through. One more time. Come on.
I'm gonna make it through. 'Cause I'm standing strong on you. Christ is my firm foundation, the rock on which I stand when everything around me is shaking. Oh, I've never been more glad that I put my faith in Jesus. He's never let me down. He's faithful through generations. So why would He fail now? He won't. He won't. He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't.
He won't.
He won't fail. He won't fail. He won't.
And how great this love. Oh, it's moving all my mountains. This perfect love is casting out my fear. How great this love. Oh, it welcomes me like family. And anywhere I go, it meets me there. Sing, He is good. And He is good. And He is God. What I am, it's not what I've got. And He is just great this love. Oh, it's faithful through my failures. This trusting love is with me till the end. How great this love. Oh, it's closer than a brother. Yeah, this is love. He died so I could live. And He is good. And He is God. What I am is not what I've got. And He is just, yet oh so kind. What I deserve is not what I find. What more could I say about it? My God is love. My God is love. Will you sing this with me? I know my God is love. And I know my God is love. Yeah. I know my God is love. This is enough to know my God is love. And I know my God is love. I know my God is love. This is enough to know my God is love. I know my God is love. I know my God is love. This is enough to know my God is love. And I know my God is love. I know my God is love. This is enough to know my God is love. And He is good. And He is God. What I am, it's not what I've got. And He is just, yet oh so kind. What I deserve, it's not what I find. What more could I say about Him? My God is love. What more could I say about Him? My God is love. One more time, come on. What more could I say about Him? My God is love. Will you guys pray with me? God, we are here tonight for you. We are here to hear what you have to say for us, hear what you have to say, and to do in our lives. We come to you with our open arms, our open hearts, our open ears. We want to hear what you have to say for us. In your name I pray. Amen. You guys take a seat.
Hello, everyone. Hi. So much so that my mic cut out. There we go. I am so excited that you are all here tonight. Not just that you're here, but you get to hear from an amazing, amazing speaker and licensed, board-certified counselor and therapist. Dr. Williams has written some amazing books on stress and anxiety, and particularly her focus, her passion that you're going to hopefully hear, both from her and how she talks to all of us in just a minute, is with all of you, with students. And so my hope for the next little while is that as you hear from Dr. Williams, that you would set aside all of the other distractions around you that also might be yourself. Do your best. Put away your phone. Spread out from someone that might be distracting you, or move away from someone that might be distracting you. And let this be a time not just to listen, but also to learn, and hopefully also to sort of hit the reset button here at the start of the year, to hear from somebody that loves you and cares about you and wants to give you practical tips of how to live your best lives and to be your best selves. Will everyone help me in welcoming to the stage Dr. Chinwe Williams?
excited to be here. How's everybody feeling? So anybody not feeling great, I want you to keep calm and know that there's a therapist in the room, and I'm going to not make it too much of an interference. So welcome, welcome. I drove all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. Robert, what's the best place for me to stand so I can not have that? Is this okay? You guys hear me okay? I drove all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. It's only really 3 hours. The whole entire way, just super, super excited to be here with you. So I'm a therapist, as you have heard, and many of you probably know what therapists do. But the way that I sort of explain to people what I do is this. I help people get through hard and heavy life situations that sometimes breed anxiety, sometimes generate despair or disappointment. So in other words, I help people to manage and cope when life throws a curveball. So I have a really important question for you. I'm going to stand back just a little bit. Family, when is the last time life threw something at you that you were not expecting, you did not anticipate, and you absolutely did not want? So just see what comes up for you, and I want your permission to be vulnerable because I want to share a story with you. Is it okay if I share a story? Thank you so much. And I already see your, very kind eyes and compassionate looks. So I already feel safe because this is a real, true story of something that happened that felt like a complete curveball. And here's a hint, it's about a boy. Okay. Keep looking at me with compassion. So I went to the University of Georgia for college, and I had friends, I was involved in things, and I actually met somebody that I really got along with. Like, we enjoyed some of the same things. We had some classes together. He was into football, I was into football. We would grill out together. We would go to the football games together. And then our families met, and our families liked each other, and our friends had already really got along, so we would get together and hang out with our friends. And I've got to tell you something kind of embarrassing. I started thinking that this person was like the one because we got along so great. And I started thinking, like, we're going to make it to the long haul, right? He's going to be a part of my future, right? We were already like best friends. And then a few weeks after I had that thought, we broke up. And I didn't understand why. I was really confused, and I tried to play it cool, and I kept doing what I felt like I needed to do. I went to classes. I would sometimes hang out with my friends, and I remember waking up one morning, family, and it felt like there was a 300-pound boulder sitting on my chest. I could not breathe. And the next day it was the same thing, and then the next day it was the same thing, and I remember thinking, I need to come up with a plan. So I did. Let me tell you my plan. Was my plan to talk to my friends about what was going on? No. Was my plan to talk to this guy to be like, what happened? I'm so confused. No, I had way too much pride for that. Was my plan to talk to God? I actually stopped talking to God as much. And things didn't really get better, but I was busy. I was super busy. I dove into my academics. I started to go to all of these clubs. In fact, I started one club, but I really wasn't talking to my friends because I was kind of embarrassed, right? And do you know what happens when you don't tell your friends stuff, but they start to see that there's a difference in you? They start rumors. I'm just being really vulnerable with you. One of the rumors that got started about me was, I don't know what's going on with Chinwe, but I feel like she's got major depression or something. And then somebody else said, and it got back to me afterwards, no, it seems like she has some sort of anxiety disorder. So family, I was actually studying to be a psychologist, so I understood those things. And I didn't have major depression, not clinically, although I was really, really sad. And I didn't have an anxiety disorder, not a clinical diagnosis, but I was worried about my future because I thought this friend was going to be a part of it, right? What I was heartbroken and not handling it very well. Doing all of the things, but not taking care of myself. So let me share something with you that I've learned since then as a therapist. When you face hard, uncertain times, when you're facing something that's unknown, like the future, when something hits you and it's unexpected and it's not what you wanted, it can actually take a toll on your mental health. So family, my curveball was relational, right? I'm wondering what your curveball is right now, or something that you have faced recently. So I'm going to share with you because I get to counsel young people and older people, and it's like a privilege that I have. I'm going to share with you what some of the curveballs or the stressful life experiences that some of the people that I counsel carry with them almost every day, right? Some people struggle with school. Maybe they're really smart and they make good grades, but they feel like they have to be perfect, right? Some people struggle socially, right? Some people struggle because things aren't the same with their parents or their home environment, or they're dealing with bullying. I actually have a client, true story, whose pet just died, her pet dog. And she's like, this feels wild. It feels like depression. And I said, it's grief, right? So that's the curveball that she wasn't expecting. And then some people are worried about their future. I've got, 7th graders that are already planning out like college and their dorms and who they're gonna like room with. I'm like, wow. But it's not an excitement necessarily, it's a worry. And then some people's curveballs are just carrying way too many balls that are becoming more and more difficult to juggle. So family, what's been a curveball that you've had to face, or a ball that you've had to juggle? So what I want to share with you is that mental health is something that we are talking about more and more, but I still don't think that people really get it. By the way, you're fortunate to have a church that does. I just met with so many of your parents, and they are so amazing, and they want to get it, and that's a beautiful thing. But when I talk to a lot of people, they still don't quite understand why mental health is so important. So let me tell you why mental health matters, and then I'm going to define it for you. Mental health matters, family, because it affects every single part of your life. It affects how you think. It even affects what you think, and I'm going to come back to that. Remember the word ants. It affects your emotions. Sometimes you feel overwhelmed by big emotions. It affects your behaviors. It affects how you relate to the people that you care about. And it's interesting because we talk a lot about physical well-being, and we should. And in churches, we talk a lot about spiritual well-being, and we absolutely should. But we forget sometimes that mental health is just as important. Because isn't it true, family, that we feel rejection, disappointment, and loneliness way more than we break our legs? And yet the focus in our society is sometimes prioritizing physical well-being and academic well-being and discounting mental and emotional well-being when they all work hand in hand. So here's a definition of mental health that comes from the World Health Organization, and it says, mental health is a state of mental well-being that enables us to do so many things. Get this. Cope with the curveballs, right? Cope with life stressors, realize our abilities. That means God has given you gifts and talents and skills, and when you have decent, good mental health, you're able to realize your potential. And it allows you to learn, go to school, do what we're doing right now, engage in conversations and learn new things. And it allows you to show up and contribute for your community. Because if you are mentally bogged down with thoughts that are critical, if your emotions are hard to kind of wrangle and manage, it's hard to be there for other people. So one of the things that I get to do as a therapist is actually probably the funnest part of my job, is to tell people how to ward off poor mental health. I don't know if anybody has ever heard this. I think it's credited to Benjamin Franklin. They say that he's the one that first said, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I'm going to say that again. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Has anybody ever heard that before? What that means is it's easier to ward off or to push away or prevent something bad from happening than it is to address it when it does happen. And by the way, life throws us so many different things that we have to face and manage and pivot away from and pick up and push down, and then we just have to deal with it. But I'm here to tell you, and again, this is probably one of the best parts of my job, that there are things you can do to ward off some of the harder, heavier aspects of mental health, right? And I'm going to share those with you. But the first thing is to recognize when your mental health is declining. Family, what is happening with you mentally, emotionally? How do you show up in your relationships differently when your mental health is spiraling? So here are a few things that I want to share with you, and just notice if any of this applies to you or has applied to you in the last couple of weeks. So these are some symptoms of stress. Again, we don't, sort of lob onto or glom onto like a diagnosis, right, or a label, because there may not be a label. Just like in my case, I was stressed out, but I didn't necessarily have a diagnosis, and then some people do, and that's okay. But I want to teach you how to recognize your warning signs that you may need to do something that's related to prevention before it gets worse, right? So fears and worries, that's a part of life. But if it becomes excessive, or you're thinking about the same thing like a loop, like it's on a loop, right? You're worried about the same thing, and you're asking your mom and your dad to reassure you pretty much about the same things over and over again, that's something to pay attention to. Or if you become really self-conscious, now by the way, many of you are at that age where that's just part of being a teenager, right? But if you find yourself really sensitive to criticism, like something your brother might say or a friend might say, maybe a month ago you would laugh it off, and now you're like, wait a minute, that bothers me, and you can't stop thinking about it, that's something to pay attention to. And then another one, being more moody or irritable, having trouble concentrating, maybe school feels a little harder than before, or avoiding or withdrawing from things that you typically love. Some of you may play sports. Name a sport that some of you play right now. Football, what else? Soccer. And then name an activity that some of you do that's not sports related. Awesome. Did somebody say rugby? Did somebody say rugby? Did I hear that wrong? Name another activity. Video games. Well, let's say that you have a favorite activity that you do after school, and you can't wait to go. And then all of a sudden, you sort of feel like, I don't know that I want to go. And maybe you have a friend that calls and wants to hang out, and you can't wait to hang out with that friend, but then all of a sudden, you don't want to hang out with that friend. If that's happening, that's something that I want you to pay attention to, right? At the very beginning. And then, did you know that when you experience anxiety or sadness, it's not just here, it's in your body. We feel excessive worry and excessive sadness physically. Have you ever felt it like in your shoulders or your neck or your jaw gets really tight? So many of my clients feel anxiety in their stomach. That's why it feels hard to eat, right? You don't want to eat, which is actually not what you want to do. You actually want to eat because not eating makes the anxiety worse. And then sleeping too much or sleeping too little. Your grades dropping. Now, by the way, some of these things happen just because we're having a bad day, right? Or we're having a tough semester, or things are happening and it's not necessarily related to your mental health. But if you have more than 3 of these things, family, happening more days than not, like 5 out of 7 days, I want you to talk to somebody. Those are some warning signs that you actually may need to do something to ward off poor mental health. So here's a question. I want you to be really open with yourself. You don't have to answer out loud because this is really personal. What do you do when life throws you a curveball? Yeah. Are you able to see what's on that image? Do you see like rappers in the background? Looks like he's drinking like something carbonated, something that has probably a lot of sugar. Looks like, do you see some chips in that image, right? It almost looks like there's a McDonald's fry box in there, but I don't know for sure. I can't really tell. And some, right, you see that, right? You see the macaroni and cheese, right? So, and by the way, I know, and I'm inviting this, so I know you guys are doing what you're supposed to do. But I also want to share with you, I've done that, right? Like sometimes, did you know that when you are really stressed, you crave poor food? Like, not poor as in money, but like food that's not good for you, right? You crave carbs, you crave sugary drinks, you crave salt, you crave sugar. How many of you have eaten a bag of Lay's potato chips and before you realize it, like the bag is gone, right? For me, it's Ruffles, all dressed. Anybody do you know what I'm talking about? It's really good, taste it, but don't eat the whole bag. But this is what we do sometimes, family. When we're stressed, we kind of like get distracted, right? And so we start eating and drinking things that aren't necessarily good for us, and we're not paying attention to the effects that those things have on our mood and our body, right? Because food impacts our mood. So how many of you do this when you're stressed out? You jump into, yeah, you can admit it. You jump into a screen. Maybe it's a little screen. Maybe it's like a video screen. Maybe it's Netflix. I don't know. I've done that too. But the problem is, it's a form of escapism. If you use it as a distraction for like 15 or 20 minutes, as a break, not a big deal. If this is what you do occasionally, not a big deal. But the problem is, those screens can kind of like suck you in, and time goes by and you don't even realize where the time went. And sometimes we see things on those screens that are upsetting, right? And that impacts our mental health. How many of you do this? You just keep working and working and working. Do you know that they've done studies? For every single hour of work, especially if you're in front of a screen, you should take a 10-minute break. How many of us do that? I don't always do that. I remember being at the UGA, I wasn't going to tell the story. I remember being at the UGA library studying during that time. I was sitting down and studying for 4 hours. I got up to go to the restroom and I fell like a deer. Like with high, like a baby deer. Like I fell and I'm like, what? And I couldn't get up because my legs had fallen asleep. Because I had been sitting there so long. That's not healthy, right? So sometimes we just grind, and we push our emotions down, and we don't even get water or go to the restroom or stretch our legs, and we push ourselves past the point of exhaustion, which is not good because then we get to this point, right? We hit a wall, and there's always a tipping point. So family, what I want you to know is that stress drains us. It can rob us of our peace. It can impact our concentration. It can impact our energy levels. And worst off, it impacts our ability to be dependable, right? We're not reliable. We don't show up for our friends or our family or our teammates in the same way. And I'm here to tell you, that's not God's will for you. And something else I want to share with you as somebody who loves Jesus, I've learned this through the years that Jesus cares about our mental health. I travel across this country, and there are churches who don't say that, even though that's true. They don't know how to have these conversations. They don't invite speakers like me in to talk to students. And it's really important for you to know that having these conversations about mental health and wellness is important, because God doesn't intend us to be stressed out, not having the ability to concentrate, and certainly He doesn't want us to not show up for our family and our friends. So let me tell you what tells me that God cares about our mental health and wellness. It really starts with this scripture. There are plenty of other scriptures, but this is one of my favorites. Beloved, I pray that in all respects you may prosper and be in good health, just as your soul prospers. When we were in the other room with your parents, one of the songs that the worship leader sang was, "It is well with my soul." And I have talked to ministry leaders and pastors who do not realize that there's a connection between the soul and how God talks about the soul in the Bible and psychology. Family, did you know that your soul, this is what the Bible says, is made up of your thoughts, your emotions, and your will? So think of will, your behaviors. That's psychology, right? And so I think that science has caught up with biblical wisdom, because the Bible talks about it first. So what is wellness? If God wants us to be well, if that's basically what I'm saying, what's wellness, right? We hear about it. It's a little bit different than mental health. Mental health is sort of a broader concept. Wellness is what we do to keep our mental health up, right? So wellness is the act of practicing healthy habits, ready for this? Almost every day. But they're basic things that I'm going to tell you in just a minute, in order to boost not only your physical well-being, but your mental and emotional well-being, so that you can build resilience. I am a huge sports fan. I love college football, college basketball. I love pro sports as well. After almost every national championship win or Super Bowl win, somebody goes up and asks the coach, a reporter, what do you think helped your team to get through this hurdle? How did your team get to this point with everything that they faced? And I don't know if you've ever heard this. I want you to listen for it in the future. Coaches say resilience. Have you guys heard that? We're resilient. I hear coaches say that all the time. Family, you are resilient. Do you hear me? You're emotionally resilient, you're mentally resilient, you're spiritually resilient, and that's what God desires for you. So I'm going to share very quickly four keys that will help you to boost your emotional resilience. And I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. I want you to notice which one out of the four do you get sort of like a nudge about, right? Do you start to wonder, am I doing enough of this? Or is this an area that I need to look at? Is this challenging for me? And I may ask you to share at the very end. But here we go. Here are the four keys to wellness, right? I could probably list 6 things, but for the sake of time, this is what I've learned as a therapist. Slowing down, battling or challenging or disrupting negative thoughts, setting healthy boundaries. And then the fourth one, finding your anchor. So let's dive in. Slow down. Just notice what comes up as we sit here for 20 seconds in silence. Notice how that feels for you. Notice what thoughts come up. Notice physically, what is it like for you to just pause and be in silence? of you, you're like, I'm fine. For others of you, it wasn't so easy. Although you're doing a brilliant job tonight, it's not always easy. When somebody tells us to slow down, for some of us, we're like, why? Right? But it's really difficult to be well when you're going. Grind culture teaches us hustle, go, harder, faster, sleep. I heard an artist say this, an artist that I used to like, a celebrity, say this a long time ago. I'll sleep when I die. I hear people say that, I'm like, that's not God's will. God has things for you to do. He has a purpose and a plan for your life. And you going at that pace isn't effective. Imagine, here's an analogy. You are driving down a long country road with very little gas. And then, oh, wait a minute, the oil sign just came on. You don't have a lot of oil in the engine. And by the way, you see the mile marker that says you've got about 65 miles left before you get to your destination with no gas and very little oil. That's the equivalent, family, to how we sometimes get the message that we're supposed to be. Just go. And if somebody says, hey, family, slow down. Slowing down might seem hard. And somebody might say, just slow down for 5 minutes. Pause. And you might be thinking to yourself, 5 minutes feels like forever. But family, what I want to tell you as a therapist that loves you, I do love you, is this. It takes 5 minutes to take 3 deep breaths, 5 minutes or less, to take a drink of water, which can actually help calm anxiety. It takes less than 5 minutes to move and stretch your body if you've been working on your computer or on a project for a long time. And it takes less than 5 minutes. In fact, in an instant, God can refresh your soul. So what if you did have more time than you think? And what if we really bought into what God has told us is a spiritual discipline of silence and solitude? And the Word of God tells us in Psalm 46, verse 10, be still and know that I am God. Family, the next time you feel anxious, the next time you feel overwhelmed, your brain will tell you to go, get it done, or you're going to feel like just falling apart. Give yourself 5 minutes. And let me tell you what you can do in those 5 minutes. Take a break, put down the screen, take 3 deep breaths, and I'm going to teach you how to breathe properly today. Read. Did you know that reading, especially a book that has like a physical book with pages, not like a Kindle or on a screen, reading for just 30 minutes can reduce your anxiety and your stress by 30%. And how many of you have pets? How do you feel when you pet your pet? Yeah, it's like a nice thing, right? So, yeah, it's a nice feeling. Your pet loves it, and it can be very calming and reassuring to you, right? No one's more happy to see you when you walk in. So what if we just slowed down? Number 2, sorry, I hit it too hard. Here's a big one. I told your parents that if I had an hour, I probably could like do it for like 2 hours. I would talk about this subject because I've been a therapist for a long time. And the people that struggle the most, it's not just about what happens to them. It's not just about the curveball. It's about the way that they think about themselves and their ability to handle it. So one of the things I want you to remember is to disrupt any negative thoughts. There's something called ANTS, and it stands for automatic negative thoughts. I'm going to say it again. automatic negative thoughts. Family, when we go through hard and heavy things, it could be about school, it could be about family, it could be about relationships, something that we didn't want, we didn't anticipate. Our brain has a way, it's just natural, our brain has a way of generating or pulling up a lot of negative thoughts about ourselves and about other people and the situation. So one of the things I've discovered as a therapist is that people don't sit still because they're afraid of negative critical thoughts. Sometimes things that their parents have said, maybe not meaning to, things that a teacher from 2nd or 3rd grade said to them, maybe not meaning to, a coach that was like really hard on them. But sometimes people are not still and silent because they're afraid to hear their own voice, which sometimes is the most damaging voice of all. So family, do me a favor. Pay attention to the way you talk to yourself. My clients will say, Dr. Williams, it's motivating me. Like I didn't do well on that test, or I didn't do well in that game, and I just need to get better, and I do suck. I'm like, no, you don't. Sometimes people will say I'm stupid. I'm like, no, you're not. You gotta be careful of the way that you talk to yourself, because it actually causes, and I'm gonna get a little bit nerdy and scientific, it causes neural pathways in your brain to form that can be reversed, but it's just a little bit harder. So you can talk about ways to improve. I'm a big believer in honest assessment, right? I talk a lot about improvement with my clients, with my kids, all the time. But it's the way that you talk to yourself. That's really what matters and what can actually undermine your mental health. So talk about how you can improve, right? So I've got 3 tips for you. Powerful ways to kind of calm down that inner critic. And if this is not a problem for you, I am so happy, but I bet you've heard your friends be really hard on themselves. So you can teach this to them, right? This is, and it sounds kind of silly, but just kind of, hang out here with me for just a minute. You can literally say to your voice, by yourself, who put you in charge? Right? That's not the voice of God. That's not the voice of God saying that you can't do this, you're not strong enough, you're not talented enough, you're not skinny, whatever. That's not God. Who put you in charge? And then you can say, I'm taking over now. Because when you're dealing with anxiety or despair, it's important to take action, right? And you can do it. It's called self-management and emotional regulation. And then you focus on, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? Family, I didn't do that when I was going through my situation. I was doing things, I thought I was taking action, but I wasn't caring for myself, and the things that I said to myself were not very kind, right? And I was just talking to myself. I wasn't talking to my friends at first, and I wasn't talking to God. So the third one, real quickly, is to set healthy boundaries. So boundaries are that line, or those lines that are in front of you that separates what you will and will not accept. Boundaries can be related to time. Boundaries can be related to your energy. Boundaries can be physical. So I'm a hugger, and I have to kind of stop myself, right? If I see you guys afterwards, my inclination sometimes is to, give you a hug, but I've got to respect your boundaries, right? Some of you, that's not what you want to do. You don't know me. I'm a stranger danger, right? You might be like, okay, fist bump, we're good. Or, hey, you can do that with your peers, right? And boundaries can also be emotional. Hey, I don't want you to talk to me like that. Or stop making promises, Dad, that you don't keep. You said you're going to be here this weekend, and I believed you the last 4 weekends, right? You can be assertive. I'm just going there. Sometimes it's that deep. Boundaries are that line that separates what you will and will not accept. A lot of the young people in my therapy office, this is a big conversation that we have. And when they're able to assert their boundaries, they feel better, right? Put boundaries around how people talk to you on social media, what people post, accounts that you follow, if they don't make you feel joyful and grateful and lifting up God's name and wanting to take action on a cause, it might be just bad news, right? Maybe no one's targeting you personally, but it's just a lot of bad news about a lot of bad things that are happening in the world. I have to take a break. It brings me down. So when we agree to things, sometimes our friends will try to get us to do stuff, and we're like, I've got to work on this assignment, or my mom doesn't really want me to do that, or I know I can do that, but my mood is just going to be down. Think about what you agree to. When it goes against your values, your beliefs, your time limitations, your mood, when you feel overwhelmed about what you're doing, it can lead to resentment. So here's a habit that you can form. This thing that someone's asking, or this thing that you might be wrestling with because you want to do it, right? But then you've got homework, or it goes against what you know God wants for you. Here's something you can say to yourself. Does this protect my time, my energy? Does it guard my mood? Is it aligned with my values? And if the answer is no, then I'm going to say no. And here are some quick tips. I'm going to focus on the last one. Remember that no is not a four-letter word. It's not a bad word. And you can say it with kindness, and you can tell people what you are going to be focusing on instead. And here's the last one, family. Find your anchors. Oh my goodness, find your anchors. What do I mean by that? Well, has anybody seen this movie? Has anybody heard of this movie? Yeah, probably because it broke family. This movie broke box office records. I liked the first one a lot, so I shouldn't have been surprised, but I kind of was. They said that Inside Out 2 broke animation records and finally knocked off Frozen 1 and 2 from the number one spot. And people get excited about that because it was a good movie. I took all my kids to see it. A lot of my students that I counsel, they've seen it. A lot of teenagers, they liked it. But it actually kind of makes me sad that it's a popular movie, because it means that so many young people are struggling with anxiety that it resonates. So it makes me sad, and it also makes me feel grateful that the information is getting out there. So I don't want to, spoil it for any of you who haven't seen the movie, but just a couple of takeaways that I want to offer. When you're going through life transitions, like some of you maybe 5th grade to 6th grade, certainly 8th grade to 9th grade, and some of you who are maybe juniors or seniors, you're looking at college. Life transitions can generate stress and anxiety. It's just part of it. It's new, it's different. There's a lot of unknowns. And some of you saw that in this movie. But support is available. And a main takeaway is that anxiety is not a bad thing. And anxiety doesn't make you mentally or emotionally unwell. Anxiety is a part of life. It really is about how you manage it. So let's talk about some coping mechanisms. When my clients tell me, I don't want to breathe, or I can't think about breathing when I'm upset or when I'm crying, I'm like, you're right. That's not the best time to do it, right? It's not the best time to learn it. So what you need to do, family, is to practice it when you're relatively calm. So I want to teach you one of my favorite breathing activities right now. Act like you're going to give me a high five. Like this. Like if you kind of think I did a good job, like you're going to give me a high five. All right, y'all are very kind. Now turn it back on you. This is called the 5-finger breath. Has anybody ever heard of this? Okay. Let's do it together and just collectively, let's just see. Measure your anxiety right now on a scale of 0 to 10. Don't say it out loud, just notice it, right? Okay, and then kind of release it. So let's practice. Hopefully there won't be interference. I feel like I want to get closer to you. Okay, you guys see me? Starting with the base of the pinky, right? I want you to trace your fingers up and down, and as you go up, I want you to breathe in through your nose. This is really important, family, because people say, it doesn't work. It's because you're not doing it right. So I'm going to teach you the proper way. Breathe in through your nose, and then when you go back down, you're exhaling from your mouth slowly. So we're going to do it together. Here we go. Breathe in. Hold for a couple of seconds if you can, and slowly exhale. Drop your shoulders. Breathe in. Hold for a couple of seconds. Y'all are doing a great job. Exhale slowly. Okay, breathe in. I do this so much I'm about to fall asleep. Try to stay focused. It really does make you relax. Okay, and then exhale. Breathe in, up. Y'all are doing a great job. Hold for a couple of seconds, and then exhale. One last time. Breathe in. Hold, and then exhale. How many of you drive? Raise your hand if you drive. Don't do this while driving. And if you have small hands, do it twice. She said it. Do it twice. So if you've never done this before, it may have felt weird, but that's the thing. With any technique, any practice, you kind of have to practice it, but I'm telling you, it will help you. And if that is way too long, so the touching part is called grounding, that helps you, but if that takes way too long, you breathe in for a count of 3, you hold for a count of 3, and then you exhale from your mouth for a count of 3. Breathing, family, is one of the fastest and most effective ways of calming anxiety, but you have to practice it when you're calm. So that is an anchor. So anxiety makes you feel lifted up. Despair and depression makes you feel sunken down, sunk in place. You need to feel anchored and grounded to be able to logically problem solve and address life's curveballs. So these are the things that help you. We call them anchor. I call them anchors in my therapy office. And then finally, one of the most powerful anchors you have is the Word of God. And that's why we're here, right? And that's why I love this church so much, right? You're learning practical things, but God gives us spiritual tools as well as practical tools to manage our stress and anxiety. So at the end of the day, Jesus is at the center of your healing, emotional, mental, physical healing. So we remember that. So I want to read this passage to you, and then we'll close everything out. I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard my cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. He put a new song in my mouth, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see and fear the Lord and put their trust in Him. Family, your Lord sees you. Our King, I call Christ, you are my King. You reign sovereign over everything, everything physical, everything mental, everything emotional. So we can go to our King who sees us, who cares for us, and who loves us, right? Cares for us. So He'll take care of us because He loves us, right? And so the joy of the Lord is our strength. So I asked you to do me a favor. I wanted you to think of one thing from this list that maybe you got a nudge about, something that you can work on this next week. So I'm just curious, with a show of hands, you don't have to share. How many of you you don't have to commit, how many of you may practice slowing down? Okay, very good. How many of you want to work on catching those negative thoughts when they pop up? Okay, thank you. How many many of you want to set better boundaries around your time, energy, focus, mood? Fantastic. How many of you want to lean or press into your anchor or find your anchor if you haven't already? It's fantastic. Thank you so much. So family, I can't say enough about just what a blessing this is for me. You all were like focused and with me, which is not easy. At 8 o'clock at night, it's not easy to do. But again, I am grateful for you. Your Lord sees you, He cares about you, and He loves you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chinwe. Everybody, one more time for Dr. Chinwe Williams. I'm so glad, I'm so thankful that we have a place like Element where we can go and be real about anxiety and stress and learn some things that we can do about it. To know that not only does God want the best for us, but God is always there for us no matter where we are. Now, we've heard a lot tonight, and if you're anything like me, sometimes it helps to slow down and take some time to process. So before we wrap up, Edie and Abigail and I just wanted to sing this song as a way to close the night. And if you know it, feel free to sing it, but feel free to also just close your eyes and take some time to breathe and to think.
When it feels like the dark lingers longer than the night, when the shadows feel like giants, are you chasing me down? Tell me, where could I run from your light? Where could I hide? Hemmed within your precious thoughts, there's no hiding from your love. Highs and lows, Lord, you're with me the way it goes. Should I rise or should I fall? Even so, Lord, your mercies, they even flow. You're too good to let me go. Should I dance on the heights or make my bed among the depths? Your mercy waits at every end, like you planned it from the start. Should the dawn come with wings or find me far side of the sea, there your hand still fastens me, ever closer to your heart. Oh, highs and lows, Lord, you're with me the way it goes.
guys pray with me real quick? God, we're so glad that we get to be here. We get to slow down and be in your presence. Don't let us take for granted the places where we can be safe, the places where we can be ourselves. We love you, Lord. We thank you. In your name I pray. Amen. Well, I thought I was going to have somebody to come up here with more knowledge than I and dismiss y'all, but I guess it's my job? Well, where are our hosts? Hosts! Everybody! Our hosts!
Hey.
Okay. Let's give another round of applause for Dr. Williams and her powerful message. Woo!
And of course, our band, adult leaders, and everyone who made this night happen. Thank you so much.
Woo! Thanks again, everyone. We hope to see you again next week for Grow Night as we start our new series on